All right, everyone, welcome back. This is part two, essentially, of the last video. If you guys haven't seen the predictive programming in the Denver Broncos Indianapolis Colts game about a EMP or some sort of event in Seattle or Denver or New York, these three cities are involved: Seattle, Denver, and New York. And if you guys haven't watched my last video, go back and watch that first, or you're not going to understand it fully how this new information is going to blow your mind. It blew my mind. Last night I was on the Sunday show with Zach Hubbard and a bunch of other of the cool guys there. We were sharing info, and I got a bunch of info that was added to what I already had. So I want to really start by making some connections before I show you the numbers and before I do the date measurements. The first thing I need you guys to know is that Seattle was originally named as, this is on Seattle's um, municipal archives, right? So it's legit, and it said white settlers came to Seattle in 1851. I want you to remember the 1800s because there's going to be a bunch of connections with the current things, 9/11, and the date I'm going to talk about in this video, which is November 11th, 2022. So white settlers came to Seattle in 1851, established a town site they first called New York. They added the word Chinook jargon, meaning by and by, which they ended up calling New York Alki. Um, so this is the first connection I wanted to make, is that Seattle and New York are connected. First of all, Seattle was originally called New York. And again, there's going to be a bunch of numbers that come together with this, but this is the main thing I wanted to point out. And the Washington, it says right here, Washington did not become a state until 42nd state. Remember, you're going to have to remember this number as we go through. 42nd till 20 years later on 1889. And I'm going to show you how this date, 1889, is tied to 9/11 and the upcoming events that I believe are coming. So again, guys, if you haven't watched my prior video, you're not going to understand this. But a little overview on why the electricity thing. Just so you guys can have a bit of an overview, I'm going to go to my my posts in my community section here so you guys can see. So I had noticed that the name of the Denver Broncos stadium where the Colts and Broncos played last Thursday was called EMP Power Stadium, like an EMP attack. And I had made all the connections as to why this game was symbolizing an EMP attack or some sort of power grid attack, possibly by Russia or somebody else. Or, well, we know who it's really going to be. It's going to be a PSYOP. It's going to be a CIA thing, most likely. So it doesn't really matter who did it, but it's going to probably happen. And when I got on the video last night with Zach Hubbard, I had other people add into this. I had some amazing findings. So I'm going to continue this info. The most important number here to remember with electricity, guys, because the word electricity, it equals 129 and 57. Remember, we're in the year of Super Bowl 57. If you guys haven't been following my work, it's been all about the 57. But the 129 is the important number in this video. So I want you guys to remember that the word electricity equals 129 and 57. Okay? And as I showed in the last video, the guy who got knocked out with a concussion during this game, his name equaled 129, like electricity. And this is going to tie to 9/11/2001 because this year is the 21st anniversary of 9/11. And guess who the number is that he wears? He wears 21. Okay? And how this ties to Seattle, guys, is this guy was thrown the ball by number 2, and he wears number 21. So 212. And in Gematria, Seattle, Washington equals 212. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But so you have the number 21 being knocked out with a concussion, which equals 57, which matches electricity. And then you have the quarterback who throws him the ball wearing number 2. So you have the completed number of 212, which equals Seattle, Washington. All right. And he was knocked out of the game by number 42. Washington, where Seattle is the 42nd state. Okay, so that's how this all comes together. And again, I just showed you that Seattle was originally called New York. So with that in mind, we're going to move to the next date, which, guys, the Washington state was founded on 11/11/1889. And this is significant because the date I'm about ready to show you is the day that I'm going to connect this year, 11/11/2022. So it will be the 133rd anniversary of Washington being founded. And I'm going to show you how the 133 also ties into this. So let's go over here to the date measurements, and I'm going to show you how this is all connected. The first thing you want to talk about here is I'm going to connect this to 9/11 because I believe that the next big event is going to be like a new 9/11 or a second 9/11. And it would make sense for this to happen on 11/11 because the month of November, the meaning of Nov is the meaning of Nov is 9. So essentially November 11th is 9/11 because the months are on the calendar are offset because of the change of calendar. They added 2 months. So the reason that November is named after 9 is because the months are 2 months off. Just like October is, Oct means 8, but it's not the 8th month, it's the 10th month. So 9, November, is the 9th month. And remember, this happened on 9/11/2001. So you're telling me that Washington was founded on 9/11. If you take this into consideration, okay, that Nov means 9, this is actually the 9th month, the 11th day. So Washington State was founded on 9/11, essentially. And 9/11 actually happened on 7/11, okay? But again, it's all about the 9/11, okay? So because sept means 7. So you have but what I want to talk about here is the 9/11 because this is the date that they tell us. This is the date that we all say as 9/11. But in reality, this is 9/11. And so this date is the founding date of Washington State. And notice, guys, that it has a date numerology of that day was 129. I just told you that electricity equals 129. If you guys haven't watched my last video, you might not quite understand. It also had date numerology of 111, just like how September 11th, 2001 was the 111th day of the year. Okay? So again, you have the 129, which has to do with power outage electricity. And that was the date that Washington was founded. If you measure from that date all the way till 9/11/2001, it's 111 years. Okay? So Washington was founded on 11/11, which is actually 9/11. And if you measure from that date in 1889 to 9/11/2001, it's 111 years, and that was the 111th day of the year, left in the year. You see what I mean, guys? The pattern is clear. The fact that Washington was founded exactly 111 years before 9/11 is not a coincidence. The fact that it has 129 date numerology. Again, guys, for those of you who are familiar with the number 201 and how the Jesuit order uses this number, in octal counting, 129 is the number 201. But at this point, we're just focusing on the 129 because remember, electricity equals 129. New York City equals 129. And again, you're not going to understand this fully unless you watch my last video. Okay, so with that out of the way, we've measured from the founding date of Washington to the 9/11. How about we measure from 9/11/2001 to this year's 11/11, which is 2022? And guys, I told you, this is all about Seattle and New York, the connection, because I told you first that Seattle used to be named New York. Okay? And Seattle again, is connected to New York in a lot of ways, but what I'm trying to tell you is that this is all completely correlated perfectly. So, with that in mind, let's just show you what the measurement is. So, anyways, from 9/11/2001 to 11/11/2022 is 7731 days. And the reason that this, it's not really this number that's important. Of course, this number is important because it's got the, notice that the sum of the divisors of 7731 is 11180, just like the 111. Okay. This is all about the triple ones. And but this isn't the most important number to notice, guys, because I'm talking about an event happening on this day in Seattle, possibly. Again, guys, this might all just be predictive programming for something coming later, but this date looks really interesting because, again, it's the anniversary of Washington being founded. It's the 133rd. I'm going to get to why that's important, but the reality is that, guys, if you measure from 9/11/2001 to 11/11/2022, it's 254 months. The reason that's important is because that day that 9/11 happened was the 254th day of the year. So 9/11 happened on the 254th day of the year, and exactly 254 months later is 9/11. I just told you that this is essentially 9/11. Nov means 9. So from 9/11 to 9/11 is 254 months, and 9/11 happened on the 254th day of the year. And I just told you that from the founding of Washington to 9/11 was 111 years. Now, why is this also connected to Seattle? Because, guys, not only is it 254 months on the nose, it's 21 years and 2 months on the nose. This is the number 212. The reason this number is important is because in Gematria, Seattle, Washington equals 212. Okay? Let me get this right Gematria up for you guys here. Hold on. So here's the main terms I want to tie into this. I just told you that from 9/11/2001 to 11/11, the anniversary of the founding of Washington is 2 years, 21 years and 2 months, like the number 212. Seattle, Washington equals 212, right here. And again, I'm going to tie more of this stuff in a minute, but the reality is that it equals 212, all right? And the Super Bowl this year is on 212. Again, if you look up the Super Bowl 57, which again, the 57 is big, but I'm not talking a lot about this in this video. But Super Bowl 57 happens on February 12th, which can be written 212. And again, I just showed you that from 9/11/2001 to 11/11 is 212, 21 years and 2 months. Just like in the football game, number 2 was throwing to number 21, and he got concussion. He got knocked out, right? The power gets knocked out. His name equals 129. Electricity equals 129. Remember, Washington was founded on a date with 129 numerology. So there you have your 212. The Super Bowl's on 212. And yeah, I mean, it's so clear that this is all tied. And again, Seattle, Washington equals 212. So let's talk about Hitler. Because the reason that Hitler is important here is because in Gematria, guys, Colorado, where this game took place, look at the numbers. It equals 133. And it has a match with Germany. 83 and 38. So Colorado and Germany have a mathematical relationship. And Colorado happens to have the 133. Remember, I told you this year on 11/11 is the 133rd anniversary of Washington being founded. And remember, guys, this is not only about Denver and Seattle, because This year, Russell Wilson, who I talked about in the last video, he was traded from Seattle to Denver. Okay? And that's why this is connected. And in return, Seattle got a guy named Noah, like Noah from the flood. Okay? So, but anyway, it's the 133rd anniversary of Washington State. And Colorado equals 133, and it has a match with Germany. And I'm going to show you how this ties with Hitler. Because I believe that the next big event is going to bring in a state of, I don't know, but it's tied with Hitler. I'm going to show you why. But anyways, guys, if you type in Nazi Germany, it equals 133 again. Remember? 133. 133 Colorado. Okay? And I'm talking about a power grid issue, right? Or something taking down the power grid, and I'm going to show you how that's connected. Because power grid has the 61 match with Nazi Germany. Okay? And I already told you that Denver was handing out bug-out bags, which are bags to prepare for an emergency. And bug-out bag equaled 115, just like power grid. Oh, sorry, guys. Bug-out bags equals 115. Okay? Look at how bug-out bags matches Nazi Germany with a 56, too. All right? Now, bug-out bags equals 115, and power grid equals 115. All right? The day that Denver was handing out bug-out bags, okay, was September 15th. If you measure from September 15th, 2022 to 11/11/2022, okay, let me show you. So from September 15th is 57 days. Remember, electricity equals 57 and 129, okay? So it's exactly 57 days after Denver was handing out bug-out bags. Also, guys, the season started on Monday night with Seattle playing Denver. I just told you, Russell Wilson was just traded from Seattle to Denver, and the first game he played this year was on Monday night. The date can be written 129 like electricity. See? 12/9. If you write it in international, it's 129. Okay? And it's 61 days after, and 11/11 is 61 days. I just told you guys that power grid, go back to here, power grid and Nazi Germany both equal 61, and it's 61 days after the start of the season where Denver and Seattle played each other. Okay? Also notice that this is the 110th day left in the year. Hitler was born on 4/20. Remember, in the game, guys, I told you that the player that knocked out Nyheim Hines with a concussion wore the number 42, kind of like 4/20 if you drop the 0. But notice that this day, the season began and Denver played Seattle was the backwards date on the calendar of Hitler's birthday. Hitler was born on 4/20, and not 9/12 or 129 is the opposite day. Look, 110, 110. Hitler was born on the 110th day of the year. Remember, guys, electromagnetic pulse, which is EMP. Okay, electro equals 110. I just showed you that 110 is tied to this because Hitler was born on the 110th day of the year, and the NFL season started on Monday night with Colorado on 129 on the 110 day left in the year. Okay? All right, so let me also tie Hitler into this from his actual birthday, guys, because guess what? I just told you that Washington was founded in 1889. Guess when Hitler was born, guys? He was born in 1889. Hitler was born 4/20, 1889. And again, I just told you that this year, on 11/11, Washington will turn 133 years old, like Nazi Germany equals 133. Okay. Hitler turned 133 years old earlier this year on 4/20. See? 4/20/1889 to 4/20/2022 is 133 years. Okay? And the other like I said, let's go over to Gematria so I can show you the 133s. So again, Hitler was born on the 110th day of the year. The NFL season began this year on Monday night on the day leaving 110, like Hitler equals 110, and 61, like power grid equals 61. I showed you in this other table over here. Power grid and Nazi Germany equals 61, and Hitler equals 61. Remember, Nazi Germany equals 133, government, White House, catastrophic equals 133. And we're going to be in the 133rd, 11/11 is the 133rd anniversary. Okay? And so this is all tied together. And look at what happens if you type in November 11th. Sorry, guys, I hit the wrong thing. So November 11th, I want you to focus on this column. Notice that Seattle, Washington equals 247. Okay? And November 11th equals 247. All right? And another thing I want to point out here, let me get rid of some of these extra numbers. But if you take the field that this game was played at, this Colts and Broncos game where I saw the EMP symbolism, it was called Empower Field, and it equals 68, just like Seattle, Washington. Okay? And just the word empower itself equals 94, like Seattle, Washington equals 94. Okay? And again, it's the 133rd anniversary, which is all tied to Hitler, because Hitler turned 133 years old this year too. Okay? And again, the Super Bowl is on 2/12, like Seattle equals 2/12. But this is why, the reason I have this up here, Falcons versus Panthers. Okay? I'm going to show you how this is all connected. Also, before I get to that, guys, the current quarterback for the Seahawks, the Seattle Seahawks, he played for the New York Jets, and the New York Jets were tied with 9/11, right? The Jets hitting the towers. He played, his first team was the Jets, of course, guys. And guess who else he played for? He played for the New York Giants, so he played for both New York teams. He played for the Los Angeles Chargers, which is the team that is about electricity. They're the Chargers. And he played for the Seahawks. He played for all the perfect teams for this ritual. So I'm telling you guys, I don't know if you're seeing this, but he was also born on October 10th, which is 110. Remember, Adolf Hitler was born on the 110th day of the year, and he equals 110. And this Geno Smith was born on October 10th, which can be written kind of like 110. Okay? And remember, the NFL season started on the day leaving 110, 9/21 or 9/12. Okay, and it was the backwards date of Hitler's birthday. Okay, so now if we go back to this date, this was Hitler's birthday this year. Okay, and we measure from that date to 11/11, we're going to get 205 days. And the reason that's important here mainly is because if you measured from his birthday to the start of the NFL season, which was 9/12, the game that Denver and Seattle played, it's 20 weeks and 5 days. So notice the 205 again. So you got the 20 weeks and 5 days from Hitler's last birthday to the first Monday night game versus Seattle and Denver. And then from Hitler's birthday until 11/11 is 205 days. So the 205 again. Okay. So this 205 is coming up in both instances. And this is not a coincidence, guys. I mean, the fact that from Hitler's birthday, it's 205 days and 20 weeks and 5 days. Both. So just look at what I'm saying here. See, 20 weeks and 5 days. And anyway, back to Geno Smith, the quarterback. Again, he played for all the perfect teams. He played for the 2 New York teams. He played for the Chargers, like electricity, and he played for the Seahawks, which I think is the city where the power is going to go out. Okay, so, and Geno Smith, the name he goes by, equals 110. See if my computer can go faster here. But so Adolf Hitler equals 110. He was born on the 110th day of the year. And Geno Smith, the quarterback for Seattle, equals 110. And look at that, guys. He has the 133, just like it's the 1111 is the 133rd anniversary of Washington State. So it's all coming together. Look, 133, 110, just like Nazi Germany 133 and Hitler 110. Now, here's the most mind-blowing information, okay? Because I told you that the game that really gave me this clue was the Colts versus Broncos game on Thursday night. That happened this last Thursday. And I wanted to go back to 2001, and I didn't get this information from myself. I had a comment, thank you for, I think his name is Ryler. I think that's his name, but he gave me an amazing comment. He pointed out that if you go back to 2001, 2 days before 9/11, 2001, on September 9th, you're going to see that there was 2 teams that played the 2 New York teams before 9/11. Okay? One of them was the Indianapolis Colts. And I told you guys that the Colts versus the Broncos game was the game where they hinted at a power outage. Okay? So the Colts and Broncos, so notice the Colts played the Jets, the New York Jets. Okay? And the Broncos on Monday Night Football, okay, played the New York Giants. So both New York teams were played by the 2 teams that just played on Thursday night that I got my clue from. Okay? And notice that the final score of both games, Denver and the Indianapolis Colts beat both New York teams that day, 2 days before 9/11. And remember, guys, 9/11 happened on the 254th day of the year. Notice that the final score of the Colts and Jets game was 45-24. Well, notice that the 254 is in here. 254. 254, which is the day that 9/11 happened, 2 days after this. Okay? And the game this year between the Broncos and the Colts happened on 10-6. And look what the Jets' record that year was. 10-6. And the Colts were 6-10. As above, so below. Reversing. 6-10, 106. Okay? And the Broncos, 2 days before 9/11, their season was 8-8. Okay? And the score ended up being a total of 51 points here and 69 points in the Colts game. And the Colts game was 69, just like the as above, so below, right? 6-9. So again, guys, this has all been so perfectly planned out. And like I said, maybe me pointing this out will actually make it not happen, but like these connections are undeniable, okay? And remember, the Super Bowl is on 2-1-2 this year, just like Seattle, Washington equals 2-1-2. And another point that Zach made last night on the show was that if you measure from the game, the Denver game that I'm talking about, where Denver and Colts played, okay, which was on 10-6, 2022, and if you measure to the next Super Bowl, okay, which is on 2-1-2, it's 129 days. And again, 129 is all about electricity, okay? Let me just show you guys. So electricity equals 129 and 57. And from the game of the Colts where the score was 12-9, remember the final score of the Colts-Broncos game was 12-9, electricity equals 129. The player that got knocked out equaled 129. It's Super Bowl 57. 129 days after that game is Super Bowl 57. See? 129 days after that game is Super Bowl 57 on 57 date numerology on 322. Skull and Bones. So again, guys, it's all tied together perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. And I know there's other things I wanted to mention here, but I'm kind of forgetting. But again, guys, just so I can verify, Hitler was born in 1889, the same year Washington was founded. And I just showed you that all the connections with, Nazi Germany, Hitler, Colorado, Seattle. Okay. Oh, and the last thing I need to mention. So this year, I checked to see what games were going to be happening closest to that 11/11 date. And of course, guys, the game that's happening on, let me see if I can pull that up here, because I believe the Falcons and the Panthers are playing. Let me get up the schedule so I can show you guys clearly what I'm talking about. So the schedule, I was like, okay, what game is going to be being played right around that 11/11 date? And if you go the day before, okay, on Thursday night is the Falcons versus the Panthers. And if you type in Falcons versus Panthers, okay, Falcons versus Panthers is the day before 11/11. Falcons versus Panthers equals 212, 68, 247, and 94. A direct match to Seattle, Washington. That blew my mind. Okay. That's absolutely mind-blowing. So here I am making all these connections to 11/11 and something happening on that date. And then the day before, the football game that's being played is between the Falcons and Panthers, and it's a direct match to Seattle, Washington. So again, I don't think that's a coincidence. I just don't think it's a coincidence at all. And now I want to take a look at Seattle's schedule, because who will Seattle be playing around that date? Who will Seattle be playing around that date of 11/11? Okay. So if we go to look at their schedule, you're going to see, once it loads, that the team they will be playing, well, the team they'll play after, so the 2 days after 11/11 is the Buccaneers, guys. And again, the Buccaneers are the 322 skull and bones symbol, okay? So again, that's tied, and that's on November 13th, 2 days later. And now I want to show an even bigger connection, because, again, guys, Seattle has this new team in Seattle called the Seattle Kraken, which is just ominous in my mind. If you name your team the Kraken, all right, and it's a hockey team. And I looked and I was like, okay, who are the Kraken going to be playing around that date of 11/11? So if you go into their schedule, okay. Sorry for the slow computer, guys. My computer is overloaded with stuff right now. But if you go to the Kraken and their schedule, sorry guys, this thing is just being super slow. So where's 11/11? So I looked, and of course they're playing on 11/11, and they're playing the Minnesota Wild. And the reason this is significant, guys, is because the name Minnesota, okay? I just told you about the 133 and how 11/11 is the 133rd anniversary of Washington being founded. And now you have Seattle, Washington's team playing the Minnesota Wild on 11/11. And if this ever loads, Let me close out some pages, guys. Sorry about this. So, anyways, again, I just told you about the 133s and how Geno Smith, the quarterback for Seattle, catastrophic equals 133, White House, government, Nazi Germany. It's the 133rd anniversary. Well, if you type in the team that the Seattle Kraken are playing on 11/11, it's Minnesota. And guess what they equal, guys? 110, 133, just like Geno Smith, the quarterback for Seattle. Just like that day is the 133rd anniversary, just like Hitler was born on 110 and Nazi Germany equals 133. And this year was also Hitler's 133rd birthday. So again, guys, I think I've made my point clear. I mean, it's all connected. But it seems my computer is starting to act up, so I'll end this video now. I'm sorry for all the slow computer, but I hope this all made sense. There's actually more I want to say here, but I just want to end it now just so I can give my computer a break. I hope you guys can see what I'm talking about. Anyone who adds information to this is I welcome that, and I really appreciate all of you guys. Take care out there, and I'll see you in the next one.